Good afternoon, everyone. Part 6 of 6 of this mini-series, The Silk Road. What did they know over the last 3,000 years of climate cycles? Petroglyphs litter the area. What did they see in the skies? Dolmens and sacred spots deep into the sides of mountains, gates, places of worship, electric geology heading from one valley to the next. Barana Tower, statues in the earth-covered, interior mystical. Could it survive plasma bombardment? Almost like Easter Islands, the statues buried. They're called balbals. And looking at the stark similarities, left, Göbekli Tepe, center, Easter Island, and the right, Kyrgyzstan. Perhaps what we thought of as mere petroglyphs are etchings of plasma displays witnessed in real time in the sky. President Biden's economic decisions are gripping our nation, and everyday Americans are watching as their purchasing power continues to fall further, and the uncertainty of what's ahead in 2022. This administration has moved forward with $6.6 trillion of spending, and next on the agenda is the greatest tax hike in generations. Economists are comparing our current inflationary environment to 1970s inflation, and if you look back, gold was up 20x and silver 37x from 1970 to 1980. Learn how simple it is to add physical gold and silver to your portfolio ahead of the rise in inflation and predicted price rises. Patriot Gold Group has a no-fee-for-life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-356-4470 and get a free investor guide today. And with the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer from 2016 to present, click on the link in the description box below for more information. And now on with the video. And this is part 6 of 6 in this mini-series about electric geology, electric petroglyphs, Silk Road, tales of climate change through the last 4,000 years in cycles of grand solar minimums recorded for us now as a message. It's here again. But the petroglyphs that have been at least categorized and cataloged, 50,000 just in 3 single areas. Sacred Mountain of Salamantu. These were left over in what is now in a museum in the cave areas on top of the mountain. But it's all about the Silk Road. This area has been well traversed for thousands of years. The cycles of climate have come and gone. The onset signals are known. But more in the ancient past, beyond the Silk Road, the mythological stories of creation, mountain building, supersonic winds, the dragon's teeth formed from the dragon's breath. A lot of electric geology explained in what would have been lexicon of the time. But then we start to find the remnants, Tashrabat, well in the middle of the mountains in a very strange geological formation itself, up to the apex of the range and back over again. Was this a dolmen? Was it a place of worship? Was it a place to hide from winds? They say this is where camels were stopping over on the Silk Road. I don't think that looks like a stable area to me. Humans running into the mountains to survive. Cataclysm, yes. And the sacred areas inside this refuge as well. Petroglyphs from the area seen over these mountains. So something moved the entire society to put these shapes and features on the walls, carve them into the rocks as a warning to the future. Now the last spot I wanted to cover here, Balasagun, otherwise known as Barana Tower. Out in the plains also, the ancient legends say those mountains were built by wind behind. Was this a refuge? It's been rebuilt several times. It's leaning now, so there's a leaning tower of Pisa and a leaning tower of Barana. And the interior of it is nothing like we're used to seeing, where it's a hollow cylinder inside. This thing was built to withstand 400-mile-an-hour winds and the electrical discharge. You know, they were saying when the caravans were coming through, sometime with lightning storms would run through the valley, and the people in the area would run into this as a shelter, like a tornado shelter. So there's myth and legend mixed into modern day understanding of how dangerous winds and lightning can be. But celestially, I don't have any reference point of where that is in the skies and at what time it was built, what constellation it would be looking directly over. But the electric geology is really prolific around these areas. Standing waves with supersonic shock, updraft pulling in a single direction as materials were redistributed along that shockwave pattern. That matches exactly up with what the dragon and the wind form in these mountains, the legends had said. So the area right here on the map, Kyrgyzstan, little red dots right up at the border with Kazakhstan, and to the east, the largest lake, which is also making the headlines because Kyrgyzstan is going to limit water flow out of there for more agriculture and electricity production. So the downstream neighbors, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, are going to receive less water. Hence, they're digging into and tapping wells along the aquifer systems to still be able to have greenhouse agriculture in these drier areas. Now back to the fascinating part here. The tower is amazingly built. The construction itself is awe-inspiring. But when we come to these statues, very similar to what is seen in Easter Island. Some are buried up to the neck. Some are fully exposed. Many are far older than others, and you can see different layers of time within the statues. And the weathering and the erosion as well. They're called balbals. You're looking at one of the oldest ones right in front of you. And there is a significant difference in the older statues, the carving style, the stone used, the depth at which they're buried, mud flood perhaps, global liquefaction event, compared to some of the newer. What is also placed out there, but I'll notice to the back left, how old do you think that one is compared to the one on the near right? How much weathering has taken place over the eons to erode that down? And what's so significant here is these are protected, and they have been and always will be. And if we do want to do a little comparison here, Göbekli Tepe, that's on the left side. Notice the hands. Easter Island, center, the hands. To the right, Barana. Notice the hands. Do you think this was a civilization that was connected across the planet some 10,000 years ago? And the myth and the legend and the stories of plasma discharge and crustal sculpting, mountain range building through supersonic winds, all of these cultures have the same exact references and time dates to these events. So the thing where the myth and the legend match are the human reports and the petroglyphs left over showing us the events in the skies. Now what modern history says happened, or what the Silk Road journals talked about in climatic shifts over the centuries, go back 6,000, 7,000 years prior to that. And this is probably where the cultural heritage of this region in the world began as well. Let me know what you think about the comparison from Göbekli Tepe to Easter Island over here to Barana. I'll be putting this together as a full 1 hour and 15-minute mini-series with all the 6 parts in the different petroglyphs areas and how fascinating this part of the world is. The reason I'm bringing it up, the water wars are starting there. The ancient history and the cyclicity is referenced there, and they say the cycles are returning and there's a new cycle inbound. That's why there's so much action in access to water at the moment, and there's so many things pointing to this area of the world knows the cycle's back and they're taking action. So what can we learn from the past to help us get through the future? Well, one thing is going to be having food and access to food. Emergency food supply, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Adapt 2030 in My Patriot Supply. 25 years shelf life. Give yourself the peace of mind knowing you have storable foods. And even if you don't buy from My Patriot Supply, please go get some food. You're going to need it through these trying times. It's going to get really expensive, unavailable, and there's going to be limits to what you can buy in 2022 as the rationing begins. So I wish you the best in your preparations, and I hope that this more ancient view of what has changed can help you also reference and put something in a frame of where we're going right now. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I'll see you next time.